Here we are
in another episode
of the Simple Success Podcast.
And
this is financial life coaching from a happiness perspective.
John, I'm just wondering, can you measure happiness? Give it a star rating?
And John is so glad you asked.
DT, happiness is an inside job, but it can be measured outwardly by how you carry yourself and carry out your duties. I am asking this because of late, people have been telling me that I've changed, that I look happier.
It's all in your mind.
That's right, Alex. It's mind over matter, as evidenced by James Allen's As a Man Thinketh. Since the mind wins, matter has to throw in the towel. And that's when visible change occurs. I have learned over the years that when one's mind is made up, this diminishes fear. Knowing what must be done does away with fear. Or, as Edison said about Edwin C. Barnes, when a man stakes everything on a single turn of the wheel, he is sure to win.
You change everything. When you change you...
It's all a matter of belief.
Yet another bit of rightness, Daniel. Change boils down to belief. If you believe you can change, you will. What if you don't? Then you're in the right place, my friend. If you don't have positive belief, we will, in this pod, help you to positively shift those belief patterns. That's what I'm talking about, John. Sometimes it takes a little push in the back to make a man soar. Just don't start talking about box breathing, please. Thanks, TT, but I'll do the meditative thing if I want. Just act like an achiever. Do it at all costs. Elon Musk once said, if it's the right thing, you do it, no matter what the cost. John, can you give me a hint if, at the end of today's pod, we will have hamburgers?
No secrets. Give us a hint.
Or a good hamburger recipe? Guys, I promise you that at the end of this pod, you'll have something better than the tastiest hamburgers in the world.
Piece of cake, you mean?
No, Fred. You'll have food for the soul, which is better and more enriching than food for the stomach. In today's podcast, we'll talk about one American activist, Abbie Hoffman, and one of his favorite sayings, sacred cows make the tastiest hamburgers. Pardon me, John. I know a sacred cow is a figure of speech for something considered immune to question or criticism, especially unreasonably so. But I still can't help thinking about a real hamburger. Okay, let's take a look at the origins of this expression before we dig our teeth deeper into the meat of this podcast. It appeared in print in 1887 in the New York Sun newspaper. The first recorded use was in 1881 in the Chicago Tribune. The meat! The meat!
I am taking notes.
So it's a very old saying, but there is no mention of cows in the original source. The idiom is based on the popular understanding of the elevated place of cows in Hinduism and appears to have emerged in America in the late 19th century. A literal sacred cow or sacred bull is an actual cow or bull that is treated with sincere respect. What does this saying mean to you? A hamburger is not made of ham, but of ground-up beef shaped into a patty, which is then grilled and... Got ya? Yeah, you almost did get me there, DT. Try again. Sure thing. To me, the saying means to deconstruct something I consider immune to question or criticism. Exactly. We all have sacred cows, either in our personal lives or business affairs. For example? Okay, sure. A sacred cow may be a practice that you came up with to run your business, and now you are pulling all stops to protect it, to the exclusion of better ideas that can drive your company forward. Although the practice has been overtaken by time and trends. But isn't that human nature, John?
That's what I said.
Thanks, Sam. I think it's human nature to feel some sort of ownership of, say, an idea and try to protect it. I know of people who have selfishly protected some sacred cows that would make some tasty hamburgers. John, are you by any chance talking about me?
Yes, that's what he said.
Actually, no. Quick geography lesson. The world does not revolve around you. I thought it was something about turning cows into hamburger. Breathe, John, breathe. I'm glad that hit home, DT. You're not alone, though. If we carefully search ourselves and have a moment of personal introspection, we will find out that many of us have sacred cows, although we don't perceive them as such.
Actual learning opportunity detected.
I think that, in the case of sacred cows, as human beings, we're wired to see the speck in the other person's eye and not know that we have a log in our own eye. And I couldn't agree more. This is why good investors are not afraid of constructive criticism. If you have a closed-door policy to constructive criticism and the suggestion box in your organization is a shredder, your sacred cows will turn your organization into toast.
This does make a difference in investing.
John, I love how you can take almost any topic, flip the script, and make it about life and investing coaching. Well, thanks, TD. But it's easy because life's lessons are all around us. You may not know it, but I learn tons of lessons from you each time we do this podcast. Now, what's one habit that can make us afraid of turning our sacred cows into the tastiest hamburgers? Staying on the fence? Well, yeah, it's the habit of permitting others to do one's thinking. If you are this type of person, you'll guard your sacred cows with your life, although you know that the best thing is to put them down. What does doubt have to do with it? Generally expressed through alibis and excuses designed to cover up, explain away, or apologize for one's failures, sometimes expressed in the form of envy of those who are successful, or by criticizing them.
Napoleon Hill Court detected.
Thanks, Vina, for interjecting there. Had you not done that, John would have recited the entire book from cover to cover. Eventually, yes, little bits. Doubt is yet another demon that prevents some people from turning their sacred cows into the tastiest hamburgers. And how does one exercise this demon? By making tough decisions and sticking with them to the end. People often do not stick to decisions they've made because of worry, overcaution, and procrastination. Can you please elaborate? Again, sure. Hill said, worry is usually expressed by finding fault with others, and overcaution is the habit of looking for the negative side of circumstance, whereas procrastination is spending enough time in creating alibis and excuses to have actually done the job. Now that you have mentioned it, there have been times I have let worry get to me when I was supposed to turn a sacred cow into mincemeat. Worry can scuttle or slow down investment plans and make you stick with a business idea or a company that has been overtaken with time. What about overcaution? They're like alarm bells that keep ringing when you want to take a drastic step to become better or make better choices. These alarm bells are mostly negative, though.
That's when we silence the alarms with knowledge.
Oh, please say that again, Daniel.
That's when we silence the alarms with knowledge.
I get it. I also get how procrastination can stop me from doing the right thing. Yeah, people will often put off changing ways and habits they're used to, even when these are not working for them, or the same habits are working against them. John, if procrastination was a person, what would you tell him? Be effective, people. May not thou be a base, proud, shallow, beggarly, three-suited, 100-pound...
Cool beans. Doing some Shakespeare.
To the point, reading will do you a world of good, DT. Don't leave it to others to do it for you. Can I give you an example of how reading can help you in investing?
That would be an interesting angle.
After which break?
Break number 1.
Hello, everyone. This is John with the Simple Success Podcast, financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Because we know you want to show us some serious love in return for the tremendous benefits you get from us. Please head over to the support link in our written show notes. That's the words on your podcast player. There, you can choose from a $9.99 per month doing level of support, a $4.99 knowing level, or a basic intro level of just 99 cents per month. Great place to start, whichever you choose. Thank you so much for helping us do this for you. And to leave us a voice message, which just might see the light of day in a future podcast, go to those same written show notes. You'll go to a site where you can leave a video, audio, or text-only message, depending on how you feel at the moment. You can also send us an audio file attached to an email if you use just more than your phone for stuff. I won't repeat those links because weird. And anyway, show notes. It's all in there, and it's all easy. John, before the break, you were taking us through the habits that make it hard to make a paradigm shift. Can you please take it from where you left off? Gladly, my friend. Do you have an example of someone who turned their sacred cow into the tastiest hamburger? Napoleon Hill narrates the story of a man named Edwin C. Barnes who made up his mind that he was going to go into business working with Thomas Edison, whether Edison liked it or not. I admire that man's tenacity, but what's a sacred cow got to do with that? Barnes had no money. He had little education. He had no influence. And here he was, standing before the greatest inventor who ever lived, an inventor who, in my opinion, may have had sacred cows, especially if he compared his status and achievements with those of Barnes. What happened in this story? Edison said that he had learned from years of experience with men that when a man desires a thing so deeply that he is willing to stake his entire future on a single turn of the wheel to get it, he is sure to win. Barnes ended up being one of Edison's greatest relationships. It seems to me that, in that case, Edison consciously or unconsciously recognized the need to turn his sacred cows into a hamburger. What happens if I don't have the presence of mind to do what Edison did? And many people lack that perception, which dearly costs their relationships and endeavors. I heard a saying that you don't skate to where the puck is, but to where it's going to be. Trends and times are moving at breakneck speed, just like a game of ice hockey. If you don't get rid of your sacred cows, you will always lag. I read somewhere that we revere our sacred cows for several reasons. The most important being that they help us avoid embarrassment, surprises, and threats. This makes me think that sacred cows can be self-preservative methods. Okay, but when will you use your sacred cows for those purposes? At some point, you have to wake up, smell the coffee, and realize that the very thing you are using as a crutch is the one thing that is severely crippling you. What you're saying is that I should not be afraid to question the holy practices of others, and neither should my holy practices be off limits to others. That's exactly what I'm saying. When you have an open-door policy to the shed where you keep your sacred cows, and you have no qualms whatsoever when other people drive your sacred cows into the abattoir, you will leave room in your shed for creativity and full use of the potential that others in your team have. That can be a hard pill to swallow for someone whose practices or policies have never been challenged. Look, if the policies and practices are positive and are driving the organization to growth and for the greater good, then in the absence of better policies and practices, these can stay. I'm not saying that we slaughter everything willy-nilly. This calls for wisdom. Good must always give way to better. Can I be protecting my sacred cows because I feel threatened by other people's ideas? Or would I be doing it because I'm the boss and because of my ego, my word goes? Both reasons hit the nail right on the head. An idea that has become a sacred cow demands reverence.
That's what I said.
It is perceived as a deity of sorts, at least by the person behind it. Others may not want to question it because they don't want to upset the apple cart, or lose their jobs or perks or a relationship they value. Isn't the worship of another person's habits or ideas a perfect recipe for a yes man? You got that right. When you have people around you who worship your sacred cow and hardly question anything about it, then you're in big trouble. How do I avoid this trouble? Especially in the investment world, where we have influencers who seemingly know it all.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Samantha, you're right. I love it when AI is right. Also, DT, take the initiative. As you know, the initiative is doing the right thing without being told. Take the initiative and slaughter your sacred cows if they're dragging you behind. Yeah, Samantha, I like that reminder about thinking and growing rich. Although I'm always hearing that from John. But most importantly, DT, think for yourself. That's good advice, especially this time when more and more people are letting social media think for them.
We are working on the social media thing.
Yeah, when's the right time to turn sacred cows into those tastiest hamburgers? Never. Huh? The time will never be just right. Do not wait. Start where you stand and work whatever tools you may have at your command, and better tools will be found as you go along.
Napoleon Hill quote detected.
John, how do you manage to spit out these quotes with such ease? Repetition and practice, my friend. Repetition and practice. Sure thing. But before I start that reading journey, I think it's time for
break number 2.
We know a lot about you already because we know ourselves. For example, we know that you know how to listen to our podcast. We also know that you probably know how to subscribe. So as soon as you're done with that, tell us your story. We have ways you can contact us. It involves a special link where you can leave us a message. We may have an email address for you as well in the future, and we'll let you know if that happens. The reason for subscribing? I thought you'd never ask. When you subscribe, you automatically download all future episodes of that podcast. It just happens in your player without you having to go search again. How cool is that? This means better rankings for the podcast, more attention from advertisers, and more money. And this means more and better stuff for you. So your motivation is simple and easy. Subscribe today, whatever app and from whatever place you like. And don't just try to subscribe. There is no try. There is only do. We're changing the way we look at things, and remember, that's good. Eso es bueno, Sybil. Also remember, this is financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Coaching happiness. Our call to action is right in the show notes. Find it, and you win too. Can I simple that? Of course, por supuesto. Just simple it. Like a verb. Oh, hey, it's the home stretch again, John. It's that time in the podcast where we tie this hamburger thing into investing.
That is what this is all about.
Thanks, Daniel, for that vote of confidence. DT, what are your takeaways from today's topic? Well, for starters, in the investing journey, there will be times when I will be faced with the tough choice of sacrificing an idea, a habit, or a mentality that I am used to, or I hold dear in some way.
That's good.
Yeah, that is good, Fiona. What else have you learned, DT? If I stay on the fence, I will be unable to take action to change an idea, a mentality, or that habit that has become ingrained, and I'll miss out on the next level of success in investing. Aha! To get out of indecision, worry, and procrastination, and achieve your investment and life goals, you have to take at least 3 steps toward riches. Are these the only steps I need to take? No, DT, there are 13 steps. Yeah! Not to worry, DT. Because of time, I just want to talk about 3 today. You want to talk? Then talk. Okay, listen on. The first step toward riches is desire. We have already talked about Edwin C. Barnes and his desire, which drove him to do everything to meet Mr. Edison. If you have a strong desire to change the course of your life and investments, you will do whatever it takes. Even if it means turning a sacred cow into that tastiest hamburger?
Yep.
The second step toward riches is faith. Hill said, faith is the head chemist of the mind.
Actual learning opportunity detected.
When faith is blended with the vibration of thought, the subconscious mind instantly picks up the vibration, translates it into its spiritual equivalent, and transmits it to the infinite intelligence, as in the case of prayer. Faith seems to be an integral component of any investment venture. When you have faith in the eventual outcome, you will not sit on the fence or let worry and procrastination stop you from making tough choices. I see what you mean, John. Faith works in my inner man and helps me to make decisions that I would otherwise not make had I been depending on just brute force. You've got that right, my friend. Faith is that force that pushes you out of the fence or your comfort zone and compels you to face and change ingrained present habits. Now, the third step toward riches is autosuggestion. Oh, where you tell yourself what to think. Yeah, sort of. Hill said it's a term which applies to all suggestions and all self-administered stimuli, which reach one's mind through the 5 senses. What does it have to do with today's topic, and specifically investing? Well, let's take the sacred cow analogy. When you want to slaughter, there will be dominating thoughts that will remain in your conscious mind and control your course of action. Go on, I'm listening. The same thing happens when you want to radically shift your investment or make a paradigm shift. Through the principle of autosuggestion, the dominating thoughts, whether negative or positive, reach the subconscious mind and influences it with these thoughts. Thoughts are more important than we imagine, right? Yeah, but they are both important. In fact, Einstein even said that imagination is more important than knowledge, among other things. Yeah, the quality of thoughts that you have will determine the quality of your investments or your life. It's just like we say here about change.
You change everything.
John, today's podcast has made me hungry. Hungry for success, I hope. Yeah, I am hungry for success, but also literally hungry. Now that we are at the tail end of the podcast, and I've been a good student, can you buy me a hamburger? Yeah, that's no big EDT. You know I would do anything for a good friend like you. Thanks, John. I owe you one. Right. but I don't carry cash anymore. Hey, Samantha, can you please lend me $20?
Please speak to your accountant regarding your situation.
And practice. And repeat.
Which is how you've all gotten good.
Gracias por escuchar.
A la prochaine. This podcast and our other podcast are productions of Little Red Hen Industries. The supporting cast who helps me bake the bread includes
Techno King, John C. Brandy, Fact Checker, Abraham Lincoln, Script Consultant, OpenAI, Language Consultant, Ever Evolving, Media Expert, Favor Abassi EK, Psychologist, William James, Rabbit Hole Advisor, Dr. Mark Barrett, Sound Designer, Goodly Amo Marconi, Videographer, Alfred Hitchcock, Inspiration, many podcasts and other sources, and of course Napoleon Hill.
We also have websites, and you can subscribe to both podcasts and get ebooks and other great stuff. You can send us a video, audio, or text message, but of course, you'll have to head to the show notes, either on your phone or on the web, to actually get links and stuff. And those clickable links are in the show notes.
And before we forget, the artificial intelligence or AI voices you hear in our work come from Google, Amazon Polly, OpenAI, and the online tone generator linked in the show notes.
Finally, you can find us on podmatch.com and matchmaker.fm, where we consider guests and guesting on other pods.
And really finally, the music for our pods comes from Cute by Ben Sound and from Piano Background by Nick Simon Adams. The sound effects credits go to Jackson Academy Ashmore, Canoe CG, Dr. Jekyll, Joe Payne, Everything Sounds, MK Play More Stories, ERH, Sand Emotions, Big Pickle 51, and Just Good Inc. Yes. That's his or her name, all on freesound.org.